Thanks for letting me know, Sarah. It might help if I took myself off mute. Great start. So I'm going to kick this off. The way that the system works, people can come in quite easily, and it is on record. So Sarah, lovely to have you here with me. So I'm going to kick off because I'm conscious of time. Comparison. Stop watching everyone else and start backing yourself. That is the theme of today's session. And I've mixed things up. So in the spirit of being really honest about comparison, what I wanted to do was really think about, why have I felt the need to show up each week using slides? Well, that's because that's what everyone else does. And so I told myself that's what I needed to do. But actually, that's not necessarily my style. And the purpose of this series of mindset sessions is, of course, to share value with each and every one of you, but also for me to kind of work on some material, the content, and see what works, what doesn't. And today, I'm not using slides. So for anyone that's watching this on replay later on, hopefully you know who I am. I'm not about to do the full intro piece. I'm simply going to say, come give me a follow on the socials. I'm very easy to find, Shelley Bosworth, and the She Is Courageous Collective is my other Instagram handle. I'm not going to tell you the whole story because I've done that in the previous sessions. And actually what I really want to do is just focus on the very point of today's session, which is comparison. So I'm going to start with a bit of a story. And I'm going to tell you about someone I know. And let me know if you recognize this. Because this person that I know is pretty strong. She's fairly smart. She's pretty damn experienced. She's had a big corporate career. She did pretty well in that corporate career. And she decided to start her own business. Like so many people I know. Corporate career behind them, lots of experience, started a business. And she had big plans. She had big energy. And she was absolutely ready. She really felt this was her chance to do something that meant something for her on a bigger scale. But very quickly, what she did was she started to spiral. Now, she didn't even realize it was happening at first, but she was watching what others were doing. She was scrolling as we do on the socials. She was kind of checking other people out. She told herself she was learning. She told herself it was market research. She told herself that she needed to know what others were up to in order for her to be the best she could be. And for the most part, she was learning. For the most part, she was researching. For the most part, she realized there was a lot for her to get her head around. But slowly something else started to happen too. She started to worry. She started to question herself. She started to doubt herself. There was so much to do. There was so much to learn. There were so many doing what she was doing. There were so many doing it even better. Everyone else seemed to be flying. Everyone else was posting beautifully curated social media posts. Their content was on fire. Everybody else seemed to be doing so much better than she was. They were showing up with confidence. They were getting clients. They were making the money that she wanted to make. And she questioned more and more her brand, her colors, her ability, her identity. It didn't matter that she had qualifications or experience or abilities. It didn't matter that she had a plan because she was too busy looking sideways. And that's what comparison is. Because if you haven't worked it out yet, that person was me. And just when I thought I'd done the work and I'd moved on, just when I thought I'd got to a place of trusting myself and believing in my abilities, just when the evidence was mounting in only the right way because the business was growing, I moved to Dubai. New networks, new people, new connections, and it all happened again. I walked into rooms and felt like I didn't compare and I couldn't compete. Everywhere I looked, people were flying because the streets are paved with gold in Dubai, right? Everyone seemed so confident. Everyone was so polished. The look, the feel, everything was so different. And all the stories came back. That's comparison. Comparison isn't just the thief of joy. It is the thief of so much more. Now, I'm not telling you this because I've mastered the art of dealing with it, because clearly I haven't. I'm being really honest. I'm keeping it real. I'm telling you because I am living proof that comparison is very real, and it doesn't have to have you stop doing what you want to do, because I'm also living proof of that. I'm telling you because you can do the work, you can get to where you think you need to get to, but it can still be there lurking in the background, waiting for that moment to jump back out. And I'm telling you because it's normal. I'm telling you because actually my first message of today in terms of comparison is it's a fact of life. You will compare yourself. You'd be hard pushed not to compare yourself. But I want you to know you can navigate that. So I always talk about you can navigate it, and it doesn't have to hold you back. It doesn't have to make you feel quite as crap as it made me feel back in 2020 and in 2023 when I first arrived in Dubai. So hopefully you've got notebook and pen with you, because I want you to take notes as you go along, but not notes of what I'm saying, notes of what this is bringing up for you. I actually want you to be able to work this through as we go. So I want you to start with getting really honest with yourself and use this session as it is intended, and that is for you to address whatever is going on for you. I'm going to take a guess that you are watching this right now because comparison gets you. I've just said it. I'd be surprised if it didn't. I'd be actually maybe even a little bit more concerned. I'm going to take a really strong guess that actually it's happening for you right now. And I don't mean right here in this moment. I'm really hopeful that nobody would be comparing themselves to me, albeit with no arrogance. It is possible that's happening. But what I will do is take a strong guess that you have someone or some people that you compare yourself to right now and rather regularly. So I want you to think right now, and I want you to write down and be honest with yourself, okay? This isn't a share moment. Who are you watching right now? Who are you comparing yourself to that it's not helping you? And it might not even be in your business. And I'm going to talk a little bit about more holistically than just business. But it starts with right here, right now. Who are you comparing yourself to? And I've used me as the example, and I'm going to keep this so real today. I have absolutely continued to compare myself to people that I've met out here. I've met fellow coaches, I've met fellow business owners, and I've looked at what they're doing, and I've had those moments of, I should be there, that I should be doing that, I should be. Damn word should. That's comparison. So you've got to get really honest and use the live stuff, because actually the problem with any of this work is when it's theory, it seems so simple, but actually when we're in it, it's not so simple. And one of the reasons I've chosen this subject is because I believe that everybody, if they're really honest with themselves, is comparing themselves to at least someone right now in this moment. So who are you comparing yourself to right now? Now, the second question is the more important question. It's not who you're comparing yourself to. It's not what you're comparing to. It is what are you making that mean about you? And I want to let that hang. What are you making, I can't even say it. What are you making that mean about you? Because that's the bit we don't say out loud. So I think we are more aware of comparison. We talk about comparison and we say out loud, I look at that and I compare myself. But what we don't do is look at what do we make it mean about ourselves. When you see someone on the socials who's celebrating a win and you start to compare yourself, actually, what are you telling yourself? Because that's the bit that matters. What are you making it mean about you? Are you telling yourself you're behind, you're not ready, you're not as good as, you're not capable? What are you making it mean about you? When someone else shares their win, do you start to think you're failing? Do you start shoulding at yourself? Because the real issue isn't about them and what they're doing. It is the story you are telling yourself about what their success says about you and your worth, says about you and your belief in you. Because in truth, half the time we don't actually know the full story, but our brain fills in the blanks. The way it does all the time. If we have uncertainty, our brain fills in the blanks. And I'm going to take a pretty good guess. It fills in the blanks with an over-exaggerated story about the other person and how amazing they are, and an under-exaggerated story about ourselves, or an exaggerated how we're not good enough. When you look back, when you think about who you are looking at and thinking, she's doing so well, I should be more like that, what does it mean about you? Because if you are telling yourself that you think you should be more like someone else, what are you saying you shouldn't be like? When you are seeing someone else achieve the success you think you want, what are you telling yourself that you can or can't have? This is the important question to get the first answer to, because that's how you navigate comparison. It's not about the person. It's not even about what they're doing. It's about what you are telling yourself that means about you, whether it means you're not good enough, not capable enough, whether it means you need to do more of something, less of something, be more of something, be less of something. What are you making it mean about you? Now, when we know what we're making it mean about us, we can start to really get into some different stuff with it. But the first thing to remember is those stories aren't the truth. They never are. Those stories are holding you back. Now, I just want to share with you, I said I was going to flip chart it today rather than have slides. So I'm just going to do this, okay? So, when we are in comparison mode, we get into an absolute cycle. And maybe you'll recognize this. I hope you can see as I'm writing here. My writing on a flip chart isn't great. I'm going to read it out as I go to. And I'm going to use social media as the first real example, because that's what we tend to do these days. I'm going to use a different color, actually. So let's go red, because this is a challenge for us. What we do is we watch. We watch what others are doing, largely through the medium of social media. Okay? But we watch in real life what people are doing. And that watching causes us to doubt ourselves. We start watching and taking meaning from that and doubting ourselves. So what we do is we freeze. And that freeze can literally be, we don't do anything. We stop doing the things that we want to do. That freeze is more actually that what we don't do is move. We don't move ourselves forward. We don't take the actions and do the things that we want to do, okay? But what we do instead is we watch some more. It's like we've got to feed ourselves with the comparison. The more we watch, the more we want to watch. The more we start feeding our doubt. And here's the worst bit. I almost want to put this in a different colour. Oh, I put 2 O's in lose. What happens is we lose momentum. And I put this a little bit out of the circle because this is the cycle. We watch, we doubt, we freeze, we watch some more. We watch, we doubt, we freeze, we watch some more. But actually what's happening, a byproduct of this cycle, is we lose momentum, because comparison shows up the most when actually we're wanting to do something. And that's most of us most of the time. We've all got things we want to do. We've all got things we want to make progress on. So comparison shows up the most there. So we start something and when we see someone else doing it, or we start to think about something and we see someone else doing it, or we see someone else doing something. And that's when we lose momentum of thinking, momentum of action. We watch, we scroll, we listen. We see what others are doing. They seem to be doing it slightly differently. They seem to be doing it slightly better. It feeds every doubt we've got about ourselves. Their content makes us question everything that we've been thinking we should do. So we freeze. We don't post. We stop creating. We don't put ourselves out there. Instead of doing the thing that we want to do, we get into procrastination, perfectionism. We keep watching, we keep feeding, and we don't do the thing. We don't move forward. We don't achieve the results we want to achieve. That's the comparison cycle. And if you're honest with yourself, you know that's happening. The same thoughts go round and round. We watch, we doubt, we freeze. We watch, we doubt, we freeze. We watch again. feeding and feeding and feeding all the negative thoughts about ourselves, and we make no progress. Now, Sarah's saying I lost signal. I'm going to keep going. It says you're there with me. Sarah, let me know if you're still there. Apologies. What's going on today? I've definitely got some tech issues today. Now, it's easy to get into, as I carry on, it's easy to get into thinking that comparison is just about social media. And I think in today's world, 2025, it is predominantly about social media. But we compared before we had socials. We compared before Instagram. So this comparison cycle is showing up in so many ways, in so many parts of life. It might be you go into a meeting at work or into a networking meeting in business. You're in the event, you're in the meeting, it's feeling good, you're ready for your go, and then someone says something, someone starts the talking, someone introduces themselves and they share something they've done. And then the next person goes and they share their contribution to this meeting on this networking event. And you start to think, God, I don't sound as good as that. I haven't got as much to share as that. So you're watching and you're listening, and it starts to feed the doubt. And it comes to you, and freeze doesn't necessarily mean you do nothing. But actually what happens is you've been sitting there, you've been feeding your self-doubt with what they're doing, how they're speaking, what they're saying, the things that are so great. And when it comes to your turn, you play small. You think, I probably shouldn't share that because it's not as good as. So you freeze back, you pull back. You start comparing. I'm not going as fast as that. I'm not doing as well as that. Why haven't I done that? Doubt pops in. Why? Maybe I'm just not good enough. I shouldn't speak up at this point. So you hold back when it's your turn to speak. Play it safe with what you say. What are you not doing because of the comparison spiral? What are you not doing right now because of this cycle? Because you're watching what others are doing, feeding your doubt. Because let's not forget, we've all got enough self-doubt anyway. The comparison's just compounding it. It's just adding to our bucket of doubt. We spend our lives doubting ourselves. That was imposter syndrome. That's fear of failure and success. We've done those sessions already. This is the layer on top, which says, I've already got doubt. No one wanders through life thinking, I am perfect. I am 100% everything I need to be. There's no issues here. No one does. So we've all got a bit of doubt. In fact, it keeps us humble, okay? But the comparison piece is where we're watching others and it's feeding our doubt. Because remember how the brain works. So the brain loves to work in accordance with your thinking. If you've already got a little bit of doubt about yourself, your reticular activation system, I've mentioned it before, will filter out anything that's not relevant. So if you are in a process of doing something new, moving towards something, stretching yourself, and there's a tiny bit of doubt that's been kind of, just growing over here, and you think about that doubt, what does your brain do? It says, well, let me show you some more stuff that will make you doubt yourself more. Doesn't it sometimes feel when you're about to do something big, new, scary, that everywhere you look, someone else is already doing it, someone else has already given it a go, and they've clearly done it better than we ever could? That's the brain working with you. So we watch, we doubt, we feed the doubt we've already got, we freeze, we keep watching, because all our thoughts become focused on our doubt, what we can't do and what they can. And we absolutely lose momentum. We fall into the comparison cycle so quickly, so easily, so commonly. What have you not been doing because of this spiral? What are you holding back on right now? Social media might be the loudest culprit. But like I said, we've been comparing ourselves way before social media. Back in school, when someone else was doing better in one of the classes, or someone was more popular, or someone had the genes that everybody wanted. That's comparison. Because what we do is we feed, I should be able to have those genes. Why? Oh God, I had that conversation with my parents, and parents listening right now might be thinking that. Or maybe you compare yourself to family members because you've been taught what you should be achieving and they are and you're not. Comparison exists in far more than just business on social media. Comparison exists in every single one of our minds. layered on top of what we have been taught to learn to believe about ourselves and where we think we should be and what we think we should be. And we're constantly adding to that bucket. We're constantly adding to where we want to be, where we think we should be. Because we're all here to succeed, right? Whatever that means for us. So don't just think about where you might be comparing to another business owner on Instagram right now. Actually, where outside of socials do you notice comparison creeping in? Because at the root of all of this, comparison is a mindset. Comparison is about what you believe about yourself. Comparison is compounding every doubt you have about yourself. At the root of all of this, it's a trust issue, a self-trust issue. If you are comparing yourself, it's because you don't trust in yourself. You don't trust in your abilities. You don't trust in your vision. When we are comparing, we lose touch with our own vision for our lives. We lose touch with our own value. We lose trust in ourselves. And we start latching onto, without even realizing we're doing it, other people's. The key to letting go of comparison is coming back to ourselves. You don't break the comparison cycle by shaming yourself. Okay? You don't break the comparison cycle by just saying, just get over yourself and let go. You break it by choosing to come back to you again and again, because you will be pulled. But actually, when you choose to come back to what is important to you, what do you want to stand for? What do you want to achieve? Get back on your path. And you will need to do that time and again. So, I want you to think about this is what's really going on here. When we compare, we're looking at somebody else's, again, I hope you can see that. That says your path, their path. So when we're comparing, we're looking at their path. Okay? Not ours. When you compare yourself, what you're doing is comparing yourself to their journey, their path, their decisions, their success, their input and their output. What matters is your path. But here's what happens. What we see is they launched a great offer and everyone took it. We see them building their team. So they're clearly making loads of money. We see them out for lunch, never working. Am I giving you some insight into my life right now? We see their path. And remember what I said earlier, it's then when we start to make that mean. But what we're seeing is what we think we're seeing, okay? What we see is what we see, not necessarily what's actually going on. We see what they're doing and we create our story of it. Meanwhile, over on our path, it then feels like we, rather than launching an offer, we've been working on something for ages and no one wants it. We're still not making enough money for a team. Juggling it all. Barely time for lunch at the desk, let alone lunch out with friends while apparently running this multi-million-dollar business. Their path, your path. What this really is what you think you see versus what's actually true. This is what we think we see. We see these people succeeding. We see them out for lunch all the time. We see them making all the money. We see them confidently showing up on camera. We see them doing all the things that we think we should be doing better. Then we've got what's our actual truth. We're doing our best here. We're showing up. We're trying really hard. We're putting all the effort in. We're wearing all the hats. This is what you see. This is what you live. Now, this is just business examples. But this is happening in life too. But here's the thing. Whatever your path looks like, you are still making progress. Progress is all that matters. I've used the word path really purposely because it's a journey, and I hate that phrase. But the only path you need to trust on your journey is yours. What you think you see might not even be real. What you think you see has a whole story behind it. What you think you see could be at a totally different junction of their journey to yours. But that's what you are comparing to. When we compare, we lose sight of our own path. When we compare, we lose sight of our own achievements. When we compare, we lose sight of our own progress. When we compare, we don't give ourselves credit. We're so busy giving them credit for everything they're doing and making it all about what we're not, we don't give ourselves credit. So what's something that you're not giving yourself credit for right now? What's something in your path, your journey to where you are right now, that actually you're not giving yourself enough credit for? Because these aren't small things. There will be real wins in there. There will be real challenges that you've come through. There will be real things that you have experienced and you have made so much progress on. And every single one of them counts. And that's what you need in order for you to consider that your comparison could be flawed. Now, you may have heard me say before, when it comes to mindset, comparison is a mindset. It is about what you see in yourself and think you should be. It's about how, I've just lost my train of thought. Comparison is a mindset that is about the meaning you make out of what other people are doing. Now, I talk about mindset all the time. We have to have awareness of it. We have to get really honest about, where am I comparing myself? Who am I comparing myself to? What am I making that mean about me? Then we challenge it, catch it, challenge it, change it. That's what I talk about all the time with mindset. And it's exactly the same with comparison. Because actually what I'm asking you to do is get really honest. Who are you comparing to right now? What are you seeing? And what are you making that mean about you? And then actually, what is your path? What is going on for you? What's your reality? Because if I ask you to get really, really honest, you will see that you are comparing to a version that you do not know to be totally true. You may even be, I'll take it one step further, you may even be comparing to a version of something you don't even want. And I hear that all the time. I have people say to me, I don't even want to be like that. I don't even want to live that life. I don't even want those results. What are the standards you are holding yourself to? What are the people who are the people that you are placing on a pedestal? Do you want to be like them? Do you want what they have? Now, you might do, and that's okay. But comparison isn't going to get you there. You might not, and that's okay. Comparison is just going to keep you looking at what they're doing. Comparison is a distraction. Because what it's really doing is stopping you being honest and looking at, what are you making this mean about you? What is your mindset, your belief about you? Because that's what's underneath what you are telling yourself about why you are comparing. So the real key to any form of releasing yourself from comparison is, what do you actually want? Always comes back to this. Always comes back to, what do you want for your life? What do you want to be doing? Not what are you watching, not what have you seen, not what do you think you should want. What's your version of success? Because like anything, all of our negative mindset is driven by either I know what I want and I think I can't have it, or I'm not even being honest about what I want because I'm so caught up in the mess of what everybody else is doing and I'm telling myself I should do that. Your focus, you're looking, so I used the phrase earlier on, stop looking sideways. Stop looking sideways at their path and focus on your path. What do you want? Because that's your path. your version of success, what you are trying to get to, there's no right or wrong to it. It might change, you decide. But that's your path. That's your lane. So when I said I think in the brief to this, I talked about start backing yourself and get back in your lane. Because that's what you need to do. But you can only get in your lane if you know where you want to go to. Now, when I get into the comparison spiral, and it does happen, I remind myself, what am I trying to achieve? And will that help me? Will what they are doing that I am currently comparing myself to, will that help me? Because if it will help me, rather than comparing, I want to work out how can I do that too. When we let comparison feed the doubt, we freeze. We don't do anything. And the more we stay stuck, the more we focus, we keep watching what everyone else is doing. And before we know it, we don't even know what our path is anymore. We are so far from our path. We're in a totally different direction, following someone else's path. So, I've shared the comparison cycle. I've got you thinking about paths. I said I was going to use my flip chart. I've just shared with you the steps I always talk about when it comes to mindset. So I always say, catch it, challenge it, change it. And then I talk about commit and celebrate, okay? And I'm going to give you a version of that for today, which is just about comparison. And it's this. When it comes to comparison, I want you to, compare, catch, choose. That's what I want you to remember today. Compare, catch, choose. So, I don't want you to compare, but I know it's going to happen. I know you're going to compare yourself. I know you are going to look at others and hear others and see what others are doing, and you are going to compare yourself. So rather than saying, don't do it, I'm going to say, I know that's going to happen. What I want you to do is notice it. This is not about not comparing. It's about noticing it and taking back control of it and doing something differently with it. So yes, you will compare. What I then want you to do is I want you to catch that. I want you to get really honest about it, and I want you to go, right, what am I making this mean? I want you to call yourself out on it. And then I want you to choose. I want you to choose you. I want you to come back to, is that what I even want? Is that going to take me where I need to go? Where am I trying to get to? What do I choose? Choose you. You have to compare to you. The only comparison that matters, I'm sorry I keep doing this, the only comparison that matters is the comparison of who you are, where you were, and where you are now. But while you're looking at everybody else, catch that and choose to change. This is a catch it, challenge it, change it, but for comparison, it's acknowledge and get honest about the comparison. What are you making it mean about you? Bring it out into the open. Get really, really head-on honest. And then put it back into perspective and choose you. Bring it back to you. Bring it back to what matters to you. It's not about not comparing. It's about the choices we make. It's your brain. They're your thoughts. If you can raise your awareness, you can cut that cycle. You can choose to think differently. It takes time. It's not easy, but it is simple. You can do things to remove people from your comparison eyes, or you can choose, because I want to use that word, you can choose to take that comparison and rather than making it mean you aren't good enough, you're not capable, they're all these things, make it a learning. What do I do with that? How can I do more of that? How do I want to adapt that to my choices for the things I'm trying to achieve? Now, before I wrap up, and I know I've covered an awful lot, but what I hope I've done is I've brought this right to the surface. What I want to do more than anything is really raise your awareness of where are you comparing right now? Who are you comparing to? What are you comparing, and what are you making that mean about you? Now, the number one tactic, they're just models to raise awareness. Notice it. It's normal, notice it, choose a different thought. But here's the number one tactic. It's what I ask every client when they say to me, I keep seeing this person and this is what they're doing and I feel like I should, or I feel behind, or they're doing better than me. What are you really comparing to? Because I want to come back to these paths. How do you know that person's story behind that path? How do you know their journey? How do you know any of what's gone on behind any of the things you think you see? You don't. But here's what you do know. You know your journey. You know your path. I think you probably know where you want your path to take you. That's a different one in terms of whether you're admitting to it. What are you comparing to, and how much of that do you know to be the full truth? You are comparing to an edited version, not just because social media is edited, because you edit it in your mind. You create a highlight reel. You create the guesses. Even the people you think you know best, even the family members, you do not know what is happening inside their minds. You do not know what is going on in every part of their lives. What you do know is your mind. What you do know is your life. What you do know is your path. So if you want to compare, really compare to someone you know fully, then compare to you. I would love every single one of you to take from this one next step. I'd love you to share with me if you'd like to. You can drop me a DM. You can find me on the socials. You can tag me on the socials. I want you to take your piece of paper. I want you to really simply write, then, now. You can make then 6 months ago, 6 weeks ago, depending on how well the world is going for you. You could make it a year ago. You could make it 5 years. If I asked you to take 1 year ago as your then point, and then I asked you to take it now, who were you a year ago? Where were you a year ago? What were you doing a year ago? Who are you now? What are you doing? What have you learned? What have you achieved? What skills have you grown? What resilience have you shown? What challenges have you faced? What are you doing now that you weren't doing a year ago? Because we are all in progress all the time. We are all growing all the time. And we forget that. We're so busy looking at what we think everybody else is doing and how we think they're growing at a rate faster than us. We forget how far we've come. Think about one thing now that you've done in the last 3 months that your past self, older than a year ago, would barely believe. That's the only comparison that truly matters. That's the evidence. That's your lane. That's what backing you really looks like. It isn't about not comparing. It isn't about not having those feelings. They're normal. It is about noticing the moment you do. Because if you don't, you will lose sight of you. You will lose sight of your path. You'll forget what your path started like, was going to be like, is going in, all of it. You become so absorbed in someone else's. You lose sight of your voice, your vision. So I want you to catch that comparison. I want you to call it out to yourself, and I want you to choose again. I want you to choose to show up in whatever you need to show up in for you. I want you to choose to back yourself. I want you to choose to remember where you have come from. I want you to choose to acknowledge your path. I want you to choose to lay out the next stage of your path based on what you want. Your terms for your life, your business, your career. Not anyone else's, but yours. That's how you stop watching everyone else and start backing yourself. That's how you stop letting comparison have a hold over you. So I hope that's been helpful. I hope it's got you getting honest, raised awareness, and really brought into the spotlight. Where are you comparing right now? What are you comparing to? And what are you making that mean about you? Remember, we watch, we doubt, we freeze, we watch more, and we lose all our momentum. The key is to stop looking sideways at their path and focus on your path. Acknowledge the comparison, catch it for what it is, recognize what you're making it mean about you, and choose you. Choose to change your thought process. Choose to change where you're looking. Don't look sideways, look at your path. Please do let me know if you've got any questions on that. If there's anything I can help you with, please let me know. Let me know if you've had any light bulbs. Let me know what this has got you thinking. Let me know. If you are suddenly realizing that maybe that comparison isn't as necessary as you thought. I don't think we think it's necessary. Let me know if you've suddenly realized that that comparison isn't true. Because that's what this is really about. Realizing that actually what we're comparing to isn't actually true. We don't know it to be true. But the comparison to you is absolutely true. So I hope that's been really helpful. And with that, I'm going to close this down. I'm going to leave you with your comparison thoughts. I'm going to say thank you so much for being here. And I really hope that you can notice it, you can catch it, and you can choose you so that you do not continue down the wrong path. Thanks a lot. Bye.